Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now April 15th of 2022, and that means we're only getting closer to the official release of the full-length trailer for the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series that's going to debut in early May. That's really going to set up the overall marketing of the series that leads to that May 27th release date. And we also have Star Wars Celebration just on the horizon that's going to unveil a lot of new Star Wars projects, a lot of new Star Wars announcements that's going to be made by George, Jon, and Dave Filoni. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about Disney Star Wars is that we do know that a lot of things are happening at the same exact time between both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni trying to really regulate both Legends material and the existing Disney canon material that's going to really provide a lot of satisfaction to all types of Star Wars fans, whether you're a casual fan, a hardcore fan, or even a new one at that. They want to satisfy everybody around the globe. And by doing that, they're going to really be able to create an expansive universe like never before, without a doubt. You know, that's what Jon and Dave's plan is in the long term, is that they want to make sure that basically this new universe is going to be as big as the old expanded universe when it came to the books and the comics and such, and how big that really was. I mean, we had a library's worth of Star Wars stories. They want to do that in live action form. That's how, you know, far they're looking out for when it comes to the universe. Now, on top of all of this, what's really intriguing has a lot to do with actor Pedro Pascal. Now, we know that there's been a lot of drama happening behind the scenes for a specific Star Wars project involving, of course, the character of Djarin, and how it also involves Jon Favreau as a creator. Now, of course, we already know that there's been a lot of problems happening on and off throughout the years from, of course, a lot of actors and creators of specific Star Wars projects. This is really nothing new, but Pedro Pascal really is the latest example of how this pretty much happens time and time again over at Lucasfilm. Now, specifically, of course, with both Disney and Lucasfilm now working on multiple Star Wars TV shows for Disney+, including the Ahsoka Tano series, which begins filming soon, creators Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are hard at work on developing their new Star Wars shows that will be unveiled at this year's and next year's celebration. Now, it's described, however, that behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm, some difficulties have been escalating that involve actor Pedro Pascal and Jon Favreau. At this point in time, Pedro Pascal is in a state of frustration with how Jon Favreau is handling the Din Djarin character and how Favreau did not stand up for him to the higher-ups over at Disney when Pedro was demanding his helmet to stay off for the majority of the Bo-Katan series. Now, the drama between the two grew to a point where Pedro felt betrayed by Jon Favreau, and how he did not do anything or everything in his power to give in to Pedro's demands. This is said to be all rooted to the fact of how, even for The Mandalorian Season 4, Pedro wanted more face time than any Mandalorian season that he had worked on, and Favreau even gave him a hard time for that, which led to complaints and intense conversations about the Bo-Katan series. Given, of course, that Favreau is attached to the Bo-Katan series, Pedro had numerous issues with Favreau for also allowing Din Djarin to have far less screen time in that show, which led to more arguments that forced Bob Chapek in a position to let him go from the series. Now, let me just stop right here for 1 second before we move on to the more important material, is that you gotta remember that Favreau knows best when it comes to Star Wars. Pedro Pascal is just an actor. He doesn't even really know all that much about the franchise. He needs to know more about how Mandalorians work and how there's different types of Mandalorians out there and how they actually follow the overall religion in a sense. When you look at everything related to that, you know, Pedro Pascal is quite out of the loop with the Star Wars lore. And we see this happen a lot with different franchises out there. I think that Brie Larson was a great example when it came to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how a lot of creators and a lot of actors that were working alongside her really had issues with her. This seems to be like the version of that. It almost comes off like that. Pedro's having all these overly demanding moments. He feels betrayed at times when the creators go against him and they're not really working all that hard for him to make those demands come into fruition. We've seen this time and time again. It's nothing really new. And at this same exact time, when you look at Pedro Pascal, on Twitter, all right, there have been numerous times on the social media platform where he made it clear that he's really not all that big of a Star Wars fan at the end of the day. And we'll get into that more in just a second, because a lot of that has to do with the fact of why he's having a hard time with himself as an actor, of only being seen now as Din Djarin or the Mandalorian. He doesn't seem to like that. That seems to really kind of rub him the wrong way. Now, moving on from all of this, alright, this is where it begins to escalate further, is that the series, which is set to be a limited show, is now set to feature Karl Urban as Din Djarin, which we already went over. Pedro Pascal also holds issues with Favreau for the entire Mandoverse, given that Favreau is the one who pushed for Din to only have around 30 minutes of screen time for the Bo-Katan series. So keep that in mind, is that it was Favreau who pushed for Din Djarin to only have 30 minutes of screen time in that limited show, alright? Now the same goes for The Mandalorian Season 4, which is set to debut during holiday of 2023, which will feature a different take on Din Djarin that Pedro Pascal did not agree with in the beginning, that eventually he decided to give up his arguments and signed on for Season 4 anyways, some months ago. However, this led to constant tension between the two, given of what Favreau gave the okay on for the Bo-Katan series by using Din Djarin in his own way that did not agree with Pedro. Now, of course, Pascal has already giving Disney another ultimatum, that if he does not get more face time in other projects after Season 4, that he is leaving the Star Wars universe for good and won't hold any interest in returning either. Pedro is best described as a non-Star Wars fan by the crew, which is how the crew of the series views him and doesn't understand how important this character is now to the community. Now, Pascal is also making it clear to Favreau that he wants more scenes with the Dark Saber, as Pedro believes that this gives his character more value to the fans. However, Favreau only wants to use the Dark Saber wisely, whenever it's only to be used absolutely necessary for a scene. And that's correct. I mean, you can't overuse the Dark Saber because it kind of loses its momentum with that. The Dark Saber is a very valuable, item or weapon in the Star Wars lore, and if you overuse it too much, it kind of loses that surprise or shock value in an episode, right? So, the thing about this is that when we actually learned of how Pedro Pascal's Din Djarin is going to get a brand new treatment in Mando Season 4, and how this is something that Favreau initiated, and something that Pedro is not agreeing with, I'm really starting to wonder exactly what that new treatment of the character really is. It really makes you wonder exactly what they are doing to Din Djarin in Mando Season 4, when it means that they are completely treating the character in a different way to kind of give him, or give the fans, a different version of the character. I think it could very well have something to do with the Force, because we already know that Dave Filoni said that all future Mandalorian episodes are going to be very heavy with the Force. It's going to have a lot to do with that. So, with that being said, I think that, when you look at everything related to the Bo-Katan series and how he holds a lot of grudges against Jon Favreau, it's all unnecessary. Favreau knows best. He knows the lore. He knows exactly what's the balance for Star Wars, and that's just him. So, I don't understand why Pascal has such issues. But anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.